we've seen what appear to be small signs of progress in negotiations between the Russians and Ukraine. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's demands are becoming more realistic. Experts say it appears Putin may be looking for a way out. In fact, a spokesman for the Kremlin says it's considering a potential compromise: Ukrainian neutrality. Under this, Ukraine would become a neutral country and have its own armed forces, similar to Sweden or Austria. It's a far cry from what the experts say Putin wanted when he invaded: to topple Ukraine's government and crush its military. Let's turn to Michael McFaul now, former U.S. ambassador to Russia. Ambassador, thanks. I want to talk about the peace talks in a minute, but today we saw Putin really lashing out. Ambassador, he seemed at least very mad, sent a warning to Russians who are against the war. He said this: the Russian people will always be able to distinguish true patriotism from scum and traitors, and will simply spit them out like an insect in their mouth onto the pavement. Does that tell us anything about Putin's mental state during these negotiations, Ambassador?
It does. He's increasingly unhinged. I've been watching his speeches for 22 years or so, and this is really crude language, Shep, as you can imagine, what he's saying in Russian. It's very crude. By the way, it's also very ironic because some of those people he's yelling about, the people that like to be in the West and eat caviar and foie gras and that, they're actually the children of the people that work for him. Something he's not telling his Russian citizens when he talks this way. But he seems increasingly unhinged, upset, and that's because the war is not going the way that he had hoped for.
You know, he lashed out at the oligarchs, too. Didn't call out a name specifically, but he referenced national traitors who can't make it without their mansions in Miami or the French Riviera. He's calling out Russian elite. What does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that it's more complex than I think we've been talking about Russian society and Russian decision-making. They're not all oligarchs are not all the same. The oligarchs he's talking about are the ones that became rich in the 90s. They made their peace with Putin, but they've never been his friends. He doesn't hang out with those guys, and he's not going to listen to them when they complain that their yachts are being seized. So when we sanction those people, and it was right to do that, I think we were naive to think that sanctioning them was going to lead to them to put pressure on Putin. There's another group, though, Shep, the oil and gas people, the people that run the big companies of oil and gas. They're all former KGB guys. They're close to Putin, and they're all in this war with him, tragically.
On the peace talks, this idea floated of Ukrainian neutrality. Think that's real and possible?
Maybe.
A way to save face? I don't know.
Well, Zelensky's hinted at neutrality. And importantly, at least Putin's spokespeople, as you just reported, are talking about maybe we don't have to do denazification. That means killing Zelensky and removing his regime as part of the negotiations. That sounds like some trade space. That's a good sign. But there's two bad signs. One, where are the borders of Ukraine? We have no progress on that. And two, throughout all these talks, lower level officials in Russia have said them, but Putin never once has talked in that language. That speech he gave the other day, last night, didn't sound like a guy that was looking for compromise. It sounded like a guy that wanted to keep fighting the war.
It really did. Ambassador, thanks so much. I always appreciate you.